Throughout my life, I found many people to inspire me. I like to read, you know, and I read about the civil rights movement, and I listened to a lot of Martin Luther King speeches. Martin Luther King was an inspiration. So was Thurgood Marshall. Was a towering figure who became the nation's first black Supreme Court justice. He was best known for arguing the historic 54 Brown versus Board of Education case, in which the Supreme Court declared separate but equal unconstitutional in public schools. Early life, a native of Baltimore, Maryland, Marshall graduated from Lincoln University in Pennsylvania in 1930. He applied to the University of Maryland School, but was rejected because he was black. Marshall received a law degree from Howard University Law School in 1933. Graduating first in his class at Howard, he met his mentor, Charles Hamilton, who encouraged Marshall and his classmates to use law for social change. I didn't go to law school, but, reading about this guy encouraged me to know what he knew, and I'm doing my best. I'm still learning. But see, I have one advantage now that I didn't have when I was young, and he didn't have. Every damn law book out there is on the internet. And if you noticed in one of my videos, I was listening to Congress Live, and as they were talking, phrases they were using, I was looking them up on the internet while they were talking. The public interest, constitutional duties, your constitutional rights are their constitutional duties. They are legally required to enforce. And violating their constitutional duties, there are legal penalties. There's legal penalties for everything they do. When they reinterpret and misinterpret a law, that's violating the letter of the law. And violating the letter of the law has mandatory penalties. I talk about laws within the laws to get people to get their public servants to stop doing what they do. That's unethical. A lot of the stuff, you can file ethics violations on said public servants. It doesn't matter who you voted for. If what they do is unethical, and there's a lot of things going on out there that are unethical. After graduating from Harvard, one of Marshall's first legal classes was against the University of Maryland law in 1935. Marshall became one of the nation's leading attorneys. He argued 32 cases before the U.S. Supreme Court, winning 29. Some of his notable cases include Smith versus Albright, which found that states could not exclude black voters from primaries. Shelley versus Kramer, which struck down race-based restrictive housing covenants. Sweet versus Painter, which deemed separate facilities for black professional and graduate students unconstitutional. It violates the rule of law. Simply put, it violates the rule of law, the founding principle that caused the Declaration of Independence to be fought for and written. It was the U.S. Constitution. So a lot of things but nobody puts it as simplistic as I do. I don't try to throw any fancy words or, confuse you or give any long speeches. I just read the law to you. That's all, word for word, to the letter. And as you well know, it's in one of my other videos that violating the letter of the law is illegal. There's penalties, legal consequences. President John F. Kennedy nominated Marshall to the U.S. Courts of Appeals, Second Court. In 1961, 4 years later, President Lyndon B. Johnson named Marshall U.S. Solicitor General, and on August 3, 1967, Marshall was confirmed by the U.S. Senate and joined the U.S. Supreme Court, becoming the first black justice. During his 25-year tenure in the Supreme Court, Marshall fought for affirmative action from minorities, held strong against the death penalty, as well as do I, and supported of a woman's right to choose if an abortion was appropriate for her, and I still agree with him. Civil rights lawyer named lawyer turned Supreme Court justice, made a significant impact on American society and culture. His mission was equal justice for all. That's a lot to look up to, don't you think? You know, he was an inspiring man. Marshall used the power of the courts to fight racism and discrimination, tear down Jim Crow segregation, change the status quo, and make life better for the most vulnerable in our nation. And a lot of the laws I talk about, I'm pretty sure wouldn't be happening. You know, a lot of things, because a lot of the laws I talk about are laws that are being broken, and other laws that aren't being enforced against those that are breaking them. Your public servants. Just thought I'd share that with you. One of the many inspirations in my life. Thank you for listening. Good night.